Hey, what's up everyone? In this video I'm going to be talking about a little secret that Gary Gray, who is Michael Jordan's ex-physical therapist, he told me when he was working on my foot. I was studying with him and he told me this one little thing and it kind of stuck with me, and I want to tell you how that keeps coming back as such an important principle when you're working with your body, when you're working with your mind, and when you're wanting to optimize your life, you know. So if you think that sounds interesting, you should definitely watch this video. So I was in Adrian, Michigan, and I was doing a course with Gary Gray. It was on functional biomechanics. So really, the guy's a genius. He understood that everything is interconnected. It's a system of systems, the body, and that as a physical therapist, the academia, the experts got more and more into, like, the physical therapists or physiotherapists, into looking at a joint and, oh, it's the joint, and going more and more into the joint. And he understood that everything is connected. You can't look at one joint. So I remember, for instance, he was asked to write long time ago an article in like the American Physical Therapy Society, because he was very well renowned. He was asked to write an article on the Achilles, or the Achilles tendon, and he wrote an article called "The Achilles Hip." I hope I'm not getting the story completely wrong, but it was the Achilles hip. What he said in it is you have to treat the front of the hip, because the hip and the Achilles are the same thing, and you can't just talk about the Achilles because the Achilles doesn't work on its own. And that was it's still revolutionary today. And they didn't accept. He was kind of ostracized, and they didn't accept that article. I find that amazing. Like, he's such a humble guy, and so brilliant. And so I was very lucky to be working with him, or studying with him. So thank you. And what he said was very interesting. We were working on this bone down in the heel. So if you grab the back of your heel, that's called the subtalar joint, and it everts and inverts. So it has kind of all movements, but that's its main movement, is inversion and eversion. So when you're running and your foot goes forward in front of you and it lands, that is like a trigger, and it goes boom, and it inverts, and then that allows everything above it to rotate and fall inwards, which loads up the hip, which allows the other arm, and it's just like a chain. Okay, it's fascinating. And he was working on my ankle, and we were talking about, you know, if it's very stiff and you can't improve the the joint. And he said something really interesting. He said, listen, even if you get 1 millimeter improvement, that's really all you're looking for, because that movement will be leveraged further up the body, and it will kind of go up the chain and allow more things to happen. And then that will come back down and start to have like a compound effect and a knock-on effect into different systems. So that really probably didn't go in as much as it should have done, but over the years, that's come back to me, and I see it playing out in all aspects of my work. So the reason why I want to talk about that today is because let's say I love doing yoga in the morning. Not yogurt, I almost said yoga, although I do like yoga in the morning. Yoga, and it's part of my morning routine. I absolutely love it, and there's so many things I could say about it that I love. But one of the main things is I'm no mind. There's no judgment on what I can do or what I can't do. What I've found is, if I can just get, say my left hip, and I'm just breathing into it, and the breathing is just amazing. The breathing scans the body. Yeah, it's looking for what's going on. It's the central nervous system looking and scanning and allowing. So you're just breathing into the left hip, and let's say I get 1 millimeter into that. What I find amazing is that 1 millimeter compounds into, let's say I go forward into a full flexed position. That 1%, let's say call it 1%, that 1% goes into a 1%, which gives you 1% up here. And it's just, and then the breathing's going, scanning is like, oh, there's a little bit, tiny little bit more movement there. And that starts, as you breathe in, that extra movement comes back down and allows a little bit more extra movement in the hip. And you, by the end of the 30 minutes of doing yoga, it's gone up and down, and it's created, let's say, a 5% improvement. And the moment my mind comes in and goes, oh, I'm going to try and force that, my body goes no, and it almost locks it up again. It goes boom, because it's my mind that's wanting to do it. My mind just doesn't know what's going on. It's so limited, and our minds limit us. So physical intelligence, just let it do what it does, because it's, there's trillions of cells and it's coordinating everything. So I'm just like, oh, that's super interesting. And then when I move, when I walk, I'm just aware of like, oh, this is more expanded. I'm more expanded here and here, and just aware of it. And it's just a compound effect. So that in a session is compounding, and then every day is compounding. And then when I move, there's a compounding effect of that extra functional movement, and that starts to feed back in. And it's just fascinating and fantastic how the body is. And the mind comes in and you start pulling your shoulders back. That doesn't work. If your mind, it just doesn't know what's going on. It's just, you're not your mind. Okay, so no mind body language is what we're after. No mind body. So send your mind out of your body. So this 1% improvement, you can see it in every aspect of your life. So if you read 20 minutes a day, well, 20 minutes is nothing, but you do that every day and it becomes a habit, then in 10 years, that puts you ahead of everyone in reading terms, most people anyway. And 20 minutes of learning about something, that 20 minutes starts to move into different aspects of your life. And it's subtle, but it starts to open and leverage open, and you start to become aware of how everything is interconnected, and that flows in and out, opening up and expanding you, which is why yoga, the reason why I'm talking about yoga is because it's so no mind. You don't want your mind involved. So when you go running, just forget about, don't send your mind out and just let your body do what it does. The moment you start to like, oh, I'm gonna stretch this because this and that, your mind's like, oh, there's a perceived threat there, and it won't allow you to do it, or it'll make it worse. Whenever I kind of go do something quite quick, because I've seen someone else doing it, it's just like, oh, my central nervous system goes, there's a threat there, don't do anything. So yoga is just allowing the ground to support you. You breathe, you focus on your breathing, which is meditation. Mind's out of the window, it's gone. And then the breathing and the scanning just allows things to expand. So again, as within, as without, every little small movement you're making inside has a knock-on effect in your external life outside. So if you want to change your external world, you change your internal environment. As within, as without. Remember, as within, as without. Outside of us, look at me, I've got all this tech outside of me. Guess what? We've got tech inside of us, and we can access that operating system and just create miracles for ourselves and others by strengthening the weak energy, which is a binary, based on Taoist principles of strong or weak, or a strong or warm, hot, cold, near, far, all the opposites, which is how the mind jams us up. But I'm getting off track there. So you know, if you're doing any physical activity, the best is when you're not thinking. The more you think, the more it gets involved in it, and it'll limit you and restrict you. And if you're trying to get a little bit more improvement in something, chill. If I could tell myself when I was 20 this, I wouldn't listen. But now I know, after a lot of years of working with my body, just allow the physical intelligence to take over and just focus on your breathing, which is a scanning mechanism for the whole body of the intelligence, and it's just feeding back to the central nervous system. If you think that's interesting, let me know your thoughts. Please like the video and subscribe to my channel. That'd be great. And I'll talk to you all soon.